Podcasts with CADR, the Centre for Ageing and Dementia Research.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim Mepham. Welcome to this month's podcast. Today we've got Dr. Merryn Thomas with us talking about OPTIC. So welcome, Merryn.
Hello.
So my first question is, what does OPTIC actually stand for? Because it's an acronym, isn't it?
It is, and that's a very good question. It's quite a mouthful. Let's see. It stands for Understanding Older and Younger People's Perceptions and Imaginaries of Climate Change. But
so what does that mean?
That's not all. That's not all. There's
then
the second part is emplaced creativity to improve environments for aging. So what does it mean? It means trying to understand what older and younger people, so we've been doing it intergenerationally, so older and younger people together in the same place, think about climate change essentially. And the whole idea of understanding that is to try and improve the environments in which we all age. So learning about their ideas for the future, what they've learned, what we can teach each other, older and younger people, about sustainable ways of living and experiences, and imaginaries of what the future could be. So ideas of what the future could be, really, thinking about more positive futures and where we can go with under conditions of climate change. That's the general idea of it. So we've been using lots of creative methods to try and understand these perceptions and imaginaries.
So what's the story behind working on the project? Where did it all come from?
Well, it came from really, well, a number of places really, because we've all got quite different backgrounds and experiences. So it came from the team. There was the call that came out, and I was already working with Tavy on a project. Tavy Murray, Professor Tavy Murray over in geography, and she sent around the call, and I thought, oh, this would be great to look at with CADR, because I was just applying to work with CADR at the time. So it just came at a very good time, really. And then I said, yeah, I'm up for that. And then it kind of snowballed to people who we just introduced each other to colleagues, and then that kind of the group kind of assembled itself, really. And we'd all had different experiences of working with creative methods, and older people and younger people. So we kind of coalesced around this point of interest, really. That's how it happened. Drawing on, so I'd done some comics stuff in the past. Aled had done lots of walking interviews. Carol and Deb and Charles and Aylwyn had all worked with older people. So did Aled. Tavy was more the physical sciences side. Yeah, just kind of worked with all of our separate interests, really came together.
Nice. So tell us about the project. What have you been doing for the project, and where's it going?
Well, so it's just the main part of it, the funded part of it, has just finished last week. And it was a year long. So within that year, we started off by setting up an advisory group, which was a broad range of people who helped us shape the project, really. And they were brilliant for connecting us with communities that we ended up working with and developing our methods with each other. So they've been essential throughout the project. So we started off by getting together an advisory group and sorting out the ethics for then doing the research. And then we held workshops with people in 5 different communities around the Swansea area. And that was in the places that matter to them. That was the idea. So it was things like we did a workshop with a primary school in a residential home. So we took the children into the residential home and did a workshop there. We worked with a youth club with older members who are part of the youth club and community, as well as the youth club members as well, the younger ones. We did a workshop in a busy street in Swansea city centre. We did a workshop along a coastal promenade with a BAME group that live in the area. And we worked with a farming family as well, because we really wanted to get a really broad range of ideas and experiences to explore climate change from lots of different angles. So the idea was to work with lots of different people. And then once we'd done the workshops, so we recorded the workshops and gosh, gathered a lot of information. So each workshop had we used creative methods. So we did things like walking interviews, in person and online we did as well. So using Google Maps online, we did storyboarding, we did creating comics, we did collaging, and we played games. So we did lots and lots of different activities to try and get at the issues in different ways, and sort of disarming methods, which, because climate change is a really difficult thing to talk about for a lot of people and a lot of the time. So we wanted to use these sort of playful, disarming methods that people could enjoy doing while thinking about these issues. And then we gathered a lot of information through these different methods and had it all transcribed and anonymized. And then we worked with a fantastic illustrator, Laura Sorvala, who created a comic with these stories that had come out of the workshops. So she took the transcripts and ran with them really, and developed these amazing stories out of the stories that people had been talking about. We went through and highlighted a few things that we thought were particularly interesting, and some quotes that we really liked and things like that. But she took these stories and made them into a comic, which is fantastic. And then we've used the comic to generate discussion with educators, decision makers, lots of different stakeholders, for want of a different word, to try and think about ways we can use the ideas in the comic to think about ways of improving environments for ageing. So that's sort of the last thing we did a couple of weeks ago in a learning event. And I should also say, so we've tried to engage really widely with communities. So we've been doing things like exhibitions as well. So we held an interactive exhibition at the Earth Eisteddfod in Mid Wales in May and June. So that was really good. Eowyn spent all week there making collages, and the rest of us sort of went up for a day or two at a time, making collages with people who came to speak to us about climate change. And that was nice because there's lots of young people sort of moving through with parents and grandparents, so it was really lovely to get intergenerational conversations going there. And we had an exhibition here on Swansea University Singleton campus as well, and during that people could sort of see how we created the comic through these workshops, and also contribute to a big sort of shared comic as well. So we've got lots and lots of lovely creative outputs to go through and analyze at some point. So it's not, although like the main part of the project has ended now, we've still got lots that we want to do with it, and we've got interest from educators and policymakers as well to take it forward. So we're thinking about creating a toolkit of methods, and also an educational resource pack as well to work with schools. So we're going to be going into schools and sort of co-designing that with them and with policymakers for the toolkit as well. So we're still going. There's still lots to do, but yeah, I think we've managed to do quite a lot in the last year, and it's been great fun meeting people and talking.
It sounds brilliant. It sounds really exciting, and how creative it's all been. When you consider research, you don't necessarily look at creative methods, or it's not really the first thing that springs to mind when you're thinking of a research project. So do you think these creative methods is something you'll take forward into future projects and you'll share with others to, get more people involved in research?
Definitely, yeah. Like I say, I think it's really important, even if you're looking at quite difficult topics, if you're taking people's time to get involved in research, it needs to be engaging and playful, perhaps. Certainly in our research it is, like we use lots of playful, disarming, as I say, methods to explore these issues. Yeah, I think it's really important that you make, I don't want to use the word fun, I think our methods are quite fun, but it's, for some topics it's, maybe not the word to use. But yeah, I mean, we've like, even with and you can use these sorts of methods with lots of different groups as well. So in the learning event the other day, we had spinners. I've got one here, I'm looking at it for inspiration now. So spinners that you spin, like these nice colourful spinners that you spin to and whatever it lands on, you have to view the issue from that person's perspective, or that thing's perspective. So it's got an older person, a child, a bee, a fox, a tree, and the world on it, and you had to kind of think about it from that perspective. While we were doing activities, we had people sat around with lots of post-its and doing these activities, but next to them on a chair in one group was a tree. So I dug up a very small tree from our garden. It is now back happily in the garden. But so that was sat there on a chair. And then another one, we had Carol's lovely teddy bear who was sat in the circle to represent animals. And then we had a globe in the communities session to represent sort of people and non-human things in other parts of the world. It kind of is just sort of a playful way to think about important things. So think about things from other perspectives, for example. And I think those methods really, really work. Yeah, so definitely thinking of using similar sorts of methods and building on them going forward in future projects. And we're hoping to take this project a bit wider as well, because it's worked really well so far.
It sounds fantastic. And I think it's really nice, the different communities that you've brought together to discuss climate change. And I don't know whether it's just my personal perspective, but I feel like the younger generations have essentially been brought up with climate change and are really into talking about it and how they can brighten the future. I don't know whether that's just a me thing or an everyone thing, but it is really interesting. So what were some of the outcomes? What did people want to see change in the future regarding climate change?
Well, that's a really good question. I wasn't actually in the sessions. I was flitting around making cups of tea and things. I haven't managed to listen to the audio yet, much of it. But it's a really interesting thing you say there about how children sort of are thinking about ways to address it. So we did the learning event with adults, and I think there were some interesting things. There were going to be plenty of interesting things from that. As I say, it's a bit too early for me to say because I wasn't actually in the groups and I haven't listened to the audio. But we were chatting about that very thing, what you just said about maybe we should do a similar sort of thing. So it's called a design sprint. So sort of a quick fire way of thinking of ideas to meet these challenges of improving the environments in which we all age. And we were saying afterwards, actually, we should be doing this with children as well, and doing, like, I was thinking maybe we could get them to design something in a quick fire design activity like this, and thinking about it from different perspectives as well, because it's often children who are thinking outside the box. They're not constrained by the practicalities of experience, really. Oh, well, that's not going to work because of this and this and this, and we need a bit of this blue sky thinking. So we might try and do that with children, so use the comic as sort of an inspiration, and then ask children to design some ideas, or products or services or something, to improve environments for aging. Because I think you've got a really good point there. Yeah.
So I wonder now that the comic's been created, is that going out to policymakers, and is that something that you think will inform future policies on climate change?
We hope so, yeah. So we've sent it out to lots of local authorities and people in Welsh Government as well. And we are going to follow up in a few weeks. So about a month after the learning event, we'll follow up and see if anything has changed. But as I say, we're going to be creating this toolkit as well with policymakers to use the methods. But yeah, we're very hopeful that it will generate some change. And yeah, watch this space, really. We've got a wonderful forward in the comic from Delith Jewell, who's a member of the Senedd. And I think, yeah, I think it will generate discussion. It's sort of a nice thing that you can hold in your hand and read, and it just gets sort of ideas going. It's just to spark ideas and conversation, really, and we hope that it does that. We're going to do another print run of comics because we've nearly run out already, and it will hopefully be online soon as well, because we want to get it online so people can see it there as well. But yeah,
Brilliant.
I hope so.
Now, it sounds like a fantastic project. So congratulations on getting to the end of the funding and getting to the end of the 1 year. I know you've got a lot of work to continue doing with the analysis. And I think once you've completed the analysis, it'd be really good to invite you back so we can discuss those findings and, the key points and where you're going to go with them.
Absolutely, yeah, that would be lovely. We're hoping to do a webinar, I think, in the new year, if that's all right, Kim. We'll have to book in with you, get a date in the diary. We should be able to say a bit more about findings then. In the meantime, if anybody would like a comic, do get in touch, because we do have some left. And as I say, we're going to print some more as soon as possible. So get in touch.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Merryn.
Thank you. Lovely to talk to you.